And Jim, you're up next, I think. Anything new you might want to show?
Yeah, I got a few things going on. Just look at the desktop here. I'm going to fish through some folders here. First thing I'll talk about is a few pictures of the F7s. So these were the first two. You know, it took me like a year and a half to get castings for these. I had gotten one from the Amish foundry, and I was not happy with it, and found a new foundry that does much better work. But they were post-COVID. They got completely swamped with work. Everybody was coming in ordering 4 or 5 times what they normally do, and they finally got around to it. Used a process called cold set for the instead of packed sand. And it gives me a much finer surface to work with. Still a lot of finishing, but you know, for sand casting. But that's this is Steve's set. I threw some just to have something to run. I threw some Lee lines, N&W cars behind it, similar to the ones that Clem owns for his J. From a text, this is those engines with a set of Lee lines CP cars I built for Steve Eastman on his outdoor layout, his display layout. Pardon the quality. Facebook doesn't let you take their video.
We're part of the choo-choo, everybody.
Unfortunately, it's just barely usable. But
A lot of times it is something simple.
okay, that's
Hey, Jim, have you painted any other ones yet?
no, I'm about to. I'm just starting. I got 3 of them in primer. A couple more pictures, just the nose on it. I'm doing a set of Delaware and Hudson locomotives that are meant to look like the Adirondack, you know, which they ran PA1s, and so we'll have F7s that look like PA1s. It's going to look pretty nice. You know, it has the war bonnet like the Santa Fe, except it's in blue instead of red. Very, very pretty engines. So those are F7s. I just talked to the foundry today. As soon as I got the 10 shells that are, you know, I'm building for people, I said, make me another 10, and we should have those for York. He's mentioned I had his pattern guy do some work on the pattern to improve it a little bit, and just to make it easier to clean up. And so he said that's done, and they're going to do a test shot. So I said, send me a couple when you get them. This is kind of a neat thing. This is the little job I did for Steve Eastman recently. A couple of my drives in a shorty 40 GP7. Look carefully as you go by, you'll see a set of smooth side hand cars that look really careful. But that's kind of a neat thing. Just they're my drives. They're the 40 body, and a cute little sucker. I mean, Steve's going to put some weights on it, paint it up.
Yeah, I've got 1 inch round solid steel rod that I've got to figure the length out, you know, to fit between there, but that'll be at least most of the weight that I add to it.
Okay, so that's a fun little thing. And another thing, I don't know. No, I'm a sucker for a pretty locomotive. So this is a Park Railways Hudson. It was made using the Randall Hudson parts as tools, as patterns. Jeff Ingebrigtsen, who I met for the first time at Spring York, talked to. Now he's offered me the original tooling for this locomotive at a bargain price. And then he got back to me and says, well, I've got a couple of locomotives that I want to divest of. I have no idea the guts on this thing, but this is one of them. And so this particular one, it says Arno, but there's actually a picture of this locomotive with all three axles in the Dave Cars Arno Barr's book as a representative of Park Railways. It's an interesting story. They found the casting set for a Randall Hudson in like the 40s, late 40s, and didn't know what it was. Started to nail the things, cut them apart, nail them to a board, made their own castings, which are actually a little shorter than the Randall Hudson, because you get another shrinkage because it's aluminum, and so the whole engine is just a little bit shorter. And Kerry Williams and I actually measured the two, and this engine is about a ½ inch overall shorter than the Randall, but it looks and feels obviously like a Randall locomotive. So for those that are interested, let's see here. These are some of the patterns. It looks like Han Solo and Kryptonite, but these are the sides of the tender. These are aluminum match plates, which last forever. They're pretty good tooling. Here's the lead truck and the trailing truck and some of the other detail parts. Now, the big problem is they only cast one wheel at a time. So you got all these other wheels every time you got one driver. So you'd had to do 6 of these plates to get one locomotive. So I'm going to have to change that when I get the thing. But I'm looking to have a little nicer driver made anyway. This is the ad for the Parks Railways build your own scale model locomotive that they put out many moons ago. David Cars tells me that these things are more rare than the Randall. There was maybe a dozen of them made or something like that. And the Randalls, we know of some that were built up by different people. I own one that actually somewhere, well, you can see me in the camera, but this is an original Randall. A couple of differences. One of the differences, it has windows in it, and it has a bell cast in. But aside from that, the two engines are the same. So this one's unpowered. Hopefully, I'll get to powering it someday. This is it's called a core box for the. This is the part that they mold a breakaway material that goes inside the shell, the locomotive shell, to displace the air basically. And then here's this is the loco shell. You can see it literally is the side of the boiler that they cut apart and made a sand casting pattern from. So at any rate, I'll have the locomotives and one more set of parts shortly, and I'll have the patterns delivered to me by Jeff at York. There's probably 400 or 500 pounds of patterns. I also get, this is for the tender, and this is actually what was used for the Randall short passenger car, which they also used for the world's longest caboose. If you've ever seen in the book, there's a super long caboose, one of which Arno had and sold. It got sold at the auction. So that's the Park models. So I'm going to attempt to build at least a few of those over the next whenever. Let's see what I was able to. Couple of pictures of passenger cars. So here's Steve's. Maybe this is a little better photo. You can get an idea what Steve's Canadian Pacific cars look like that I built recently. 5-car set. Pretty cars. Just a couple of them had weebly wobbly wheels.
Well, my goal there was to get something that's pretty much mimic the Lionel post-war set, and it does a good job of that.
So there's the back end, but behind, as you can see, behind Steve's cars are some of the Haynes smooth side cars I'm building. I got like 20 shells. I've had to reproduce the parts for the back here. I've made molds for that. But there's a very small, limited number of them. Most of what Haynes made was the fluted side Santa Fe cars that you're all accustomed to, which I also have about 20 some shells and parts to build those up. So if you're looking for parts for Haynes passenger cars, I got them. If you're looking for cars, I've got some as well. Most body styles at this
In
moment.
fact, Jim just delivered to me a couple of weeks ago a short Santa Fe baggage car. So that makes my passenger set a 5-car set.
Yeah, and short means 26 inches long, so it's not really.
Yeah.
They're
Short
big-
is relative, huh?
Yeah, they're big cars. I got a handful of probably a dozen or 10 of the 30-inch cars and probably 20 of the 25-inch cars, and just a few plugs for the streamliners. This is my city of Denver on David Carson's layout. It just looks like it belongs there. I'll have to mention that to him. But I've only made a few of those. It has not been as popular, maybe because I'm flooding the market with streamliners. But here's the 4-car set with the baggage RPO in the middle. And then this set, it's not quite done. I just actually put it together like today. You note it has skirts on all the trucks. A couple of my customers like that. I charge them extra for it, but so they cover up all the wheels. That's the first green diamond that has the skirts on it, and this is, I believe, the 12th set of green diamond that I've built. And just a quick video of them running around my little rinky-dink layout.
That
Okay.
still sounds like a great sound system.
Yeah, yeah. And I took a couple of pictures around my messy shop just for the hell of it, just so you guys can see what squalor I live in. Here's a couple of noses for the city of Denver. Here's some of the base plates for the streamliner. I think this one's for a Zephyr. Here's some Dehane shells for some of the 25-inch cars. Here's the bolster that goes between for standard gauge truck. I mean, there's a lot of G gauge trucks, cars out there that this would replace. And if you ever find any, I got lots of these, so I can. And David makes a beautiful machine part for this, but I can provide those to you if you need them to convert your G gauge cars to standard gauge. A couple, here's an F7 shell and primer, Wayne. You know, it's not painted yet, but it's about to be painted. It's got all the holes in it, and I'll start to add colors to that. A GG1, I'm actually building it for myself because I gave up mine in a deal a little while ago. I've got a single stripe. I'm going to do a 5-stripe for myself. I've still got, I think I got 4 shells left on that engine to build, and the wheels and everything to do those. You know, here's the drives on the bench. Got a couple more bushings to put in. There's the machine wheels that Dave Wallace makes for me. Here's the German can motors that work with that. I'm going to use a different gearing on this one because the previous engines ran at a nice speed, but it was a top end. It was almost on the leisurely side. So this one will have a higher gearing. We'll see how that works.
Is this the GG1 drives?
Yeah, these are GG1 drives. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there'll be, you know, worm gears and then belts to the other 2 axles inside these frames. But they're pretty stout. This just shows there's a green diamond car apart, the shell, wires for the LEDs, the floor, and the skirt. And that car was actually built today in the picture I showed earlier.
Now, does that skirt just slip over the existing truck?
There's 2 holes. I drill and tap 2 holes and countersink, and I mount it right in the middle of each of the trucks. It's a little trickier for the locomotive because the wheels are bigger, and the pin, the center point is offset. So I have to slot those a little bit and grind them out a little so they clear the motor. But there's 2 screws that hold them down to each of the channels on the trucks. And here's some horns for F7s, all painted up. I 3D printed these. have nice big posts on them, so they're not gonna break off like the the Haynes ones. And stacks of lettering, and these are masks. Some of the vinyl lettering. You see, I've used a lot of this stuff. Some of the stripes that go on the nose of the green diamond decals, the D&H logo I'm about to paint. So do a lot of lettering, things like that. Here's the prototype rack. The first shot at the green diamond and the city of Denver, and an F7 of an earlier 3D printer. And here's the poor T1 that I still haven't gotten back around to, but I do intend to do that one. And then there's lots of silicone molds. So this is the inside of the back end of the Haynes observation end, the top part that I had to make a mold for. Some of these are for things like trucks, or for the back end of the Zephyr. Some of these are parts for the Jerry Brown vestibule, which some of it was aluminum cast. I've actually built one in plastic just to get it built. Back here is another project yet to come. It's a Challenger mechanism made by Bob Hendricks. It's a beautiful thing. So
Looks nice, Jim.
yeah, just some junk. Give you an idea, kind of through my messy shop, kind of that stuff stacked all over the place. I think that's it for me. I think I covered everything. So, right now I'm building 4 sets of McKean cars, 10 F7s, a number of Streamliner and passenger sets, and getting ready for the next batch. Hopefully that GG1 for myself. I've been very busy. All right, so back to, was I the end of the agenda, Ken?
Yep, yeah,
About
that's
the
it for the,
F7B.
Oh, well, everybody always has to ask about that. So that's on the docket, probably in the same time frame as the T1. I got to print out all the patterns. I'm hoping to modify them and print them so that they're fixed like the A unit is, because with the A unit, I designed the course so it would print the windows through, but it doesn't. So I have to machine all the portholes, I have to machine all the windows, file out the windshield. So what they're going to try to do is to fix the pattern so that those things print through, so it's easier to clean them up. And so, I got to change the CAD on the F7 to be able to make sure that those print through. And I know how to do it. It's just, I want to try to get a kid to do it, but I got to get the kid to answer an email. So yeah, I actually bought all the resin to print that stuff out. So it's, it's out there. Probably not till the end of the year. Okay. I think
Very
that's
impressive, Jim.
Yep, fantastic stuff.
Awesome.
it. Just trying, wish it could go faster and do more stuff, but it's keeping me plenty busy.
Guys, I'm gonna sign out. You guys have a good evening. I've got
thanks, Steve.
a grandson that I need to go celebrate his birthday with.
Well, thanks for joining us, Steve.
Yeah,
Good seeing
thanks
you.
for
Alright.
giving us time.
See you guys later.
It was good to see you. Okay, so at this
That-
point, I guess we switch over just to whatever you guys want to talk about. If anybody has
Yeah.
they want to show off or questions you have.
I just wanted to give a quick update. We were talking about York there and stuff. We sort of have a commitment from the Eastern Division that as long as we put our request in after the show, we should be able to keep the black hole going forward.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Good.
So that would be nice to have a place that we know we can come to, we'll set up and, again, any help on Wednesday there, setting up the back is greatly appreciated, because when we get it, it's just an empty room. And this time I think we're gonna have to put a lot more chairs and tables out.
Buy a few more donuts or bagels or whatever we had too.
Yeah, I know.
We had a good crowd last time. It was
What do we
great.
have? 10 dozen?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot and it wasn't enough.
Hey, but you know what? we got a surprise recently from the Eastern Division. We got a check for $300.
Yeah. Which
I
you
had
should
no
be getting very shortly, Jim. I sent it out the other day, Jim Kelly Evans.
Yeah, okay, I'll be on the lookout for it. Thank you.
Yeah,
So that should cover the donuts and coffee, I think, which is
I
nice.
think so. That was nice.
Yeah, the other thing which I think we need to be starting to talk about as a group, as we, through the benevolence of David Carson and the money we made on the tank car, we got some money in the kitty to invest in SGMA. I have some thoughts, but I'll be glad to see what you guys think. Kirk is buying some of the new Dali throttles to replace the Z4000s, which are wearing out. So I've suggested that we buy a set for the group to have for wherever we run. The other thing I thought is, you guys maybe we should talk about is whether it makes sense to have a set of modules built specifically available to the group for whatever layout we need them for. So I don't know, some things I'm thinking about. And if you guys have any other ideas, that'd be great. Because I think
Jim, I just thought power supplies,
yeah, that's the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and just getting this stuff done. I've actually requested from Kirk to get a pricing proposal together so that I can bring it up to you and Jim and, both Jims here and Ken and see if that's how we want to go. Because, really we're using Z4000s that some new people are bringing, but Kirk and Chris have been supplying for, 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And they're starting to show their age.
They are, yeah. So Dali is actually he's talked to Dali the other day. I guess he's actually producing those now. Up to at different levels, 2 amp to 12 amp or something like that. So I know that's the way Kirk's going, but I think it'd be a good investment for the group.
That all sounds good. We used one of Randy Satzler's Z4000s at Past York and my old Z250 with a control box and fast break fuse. So we could go to 25 volts if we needed to with some of the old equipment. But I think it's a good idea to go ahead with the new power supplies from Dali.
Yeah. I have to find out. I don't know. Does his power supplies go to 25 volts?
I don't know about the Dali ones. I don't.
Yeah, we have to ask him to make us some that go to 25. Because that, some of the older stuff, you really need more than 20 volts to get them rocking.
Right. That's why I set it up with the Z250 and the Z4000.
Yeah, the Z's work great.
Yeah. Without the diodes. So we set that up on the outside loop, and then we had 2 Z4000s to do the one each for each of the inner loops.
Okay.
Those are fairly new units, but they were borrowed from Randy. So
one of the things that doesn't show up is you got electronics, and then you still got a big old transformer, 60 hertz transformer.
Right.
And you got to put them in a box somehow times.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. We just build a panel that's somehow transportable, or 2 boxes or whatever it is, something that you can just kind of chuck in a truck or a van or whatever.
Well, Kirk and Chris sort of have that power block that they made, just
Yeah.
do this with the new power supplies
Yep.
and hide everything in, quick disconnects.
yeah, well the Dali design that I've looked at in their catalog, it's nice and compact and succinct.
It's like a faceplate, right? You have to bolt it on the panel, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds awesome. I wish David had hung out. I really wanted him to talk about that boxcar. He's doing 12 or 14 different single dome Glen type tank cars, but he's worked up something that looks like the Glen boxcar, which is really kind of a big deal for those of us that like the Glen stuff, which is me, and I know
A year ago, I could give a crap about Glen cars. Now I'm addicted.
Yep. Yeah, it happens.
I think you, me, Kirk, Steve Eastman, you
Yep.
know?
Oh,
Wow.
definitely Steve Eastman.
I got 8. They run real smooth is what I like. There's no rattling, clacking or any of that other stuff.
David told me he's built 170 cars now. I'm assuming that includes the 60 some that we did. But you know, he's almost doubled that with the single domes. So yeah, they're pretty popular, and there's nothing like them. I mean, if you once you pick one of those things up, you're kind of hooked. So anyway, he's moving forward. I know he wants to do a hopper as well, because they were apparently pretty rare. They're a combination of sheet metal and castings. Forney made a lot of the bodies for the Glen hopper car, but the whole underside is a Glen casting and then Glen trucks. So that's another beautiful car. So a little thing, a little bit of new trains. What do we got here?
Jim,
It's Wayne's?
Clem,
Oh, it's Clem. Oh, go for it.
publicly thank Ed Beaver for the incredible work he's doing in preparing for a National Capital Trackers visit here to Ashbury Ponds. We're going to have the main exhibit hall here, and it's first time for everybody, so we're cutting new grass. And Ed has been dealing with more politics than I've got here, but we're really looking forward to it. It'll be an O-gauge layout, and the tabletop that Ed's been doing at various locations around the York show. I'm going to provide some rusty stuff to add, but Ed and his team have been just marvelous, and Norm and whatnot. And we'll give you a report next time.
That's next Saturday, right?
Saturday a week. Yeah,
Saturday week.
and it's, the standard gauge is a 10 by 20 foot tabletop arrangement.
Thank you, Ed. Oh,
Norm has his preset green carpet to go over it. And we put 3 loops on there, 84, 72, and 57, and just have a ball. Goes up
Hoping to get a kitchen pass, maybe, and wander down there.
well,
Jim, did you say you would like to try to come down?
Yeah, I'm gonna see what I can do. You know, I got a sick boy here, but
Okay, I will add you to the list.
yeah, it's not certain. I gotta go talk to the old lady.
Go ahead.
I gotta talk to the old lady, but I really would like to come down there and revel a little bit. You know.
we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
I
I'd love you to show
send you
my
the
map.
information, and Dan is talking about joining us also. And but it is a private community in it, so it's kind of limited access. You got to go through a guardhouse and all
You gotta
that.
have a government common access card or something.
It's a manned guardhouse that you
Right.
just check in. I just have to give them a list.
Right. Okay, very good.
Tell them you're with the band, Jim. That'll get you in. So,
And
Mention my name, Jim, you'll get the best service. And
oh, that's
think-
troublemaker, right?
if everything falls apart, we have 2 couches in here.
There
I
we go.
haven't been arrested for using his name so far, so we're doing
There
good.
you go.
We're
sure that-
excited, Ed. We
Well,
got
I'm sure
somebody
you're
taking
elected
pictures,
already.
Ed, somebody taking pictures that day, those days.
I will be taking some, and there is somebody from it's an Erickson retirement community, so somebody sponsored by the community is also taking pictures, so.
Mhm.
And we're supposed to meet with,
They've been great giving us advertising space and all this other stuff inside the community. There's about, what, 2,500 residents, Clem, something like that?
and I understand, but close enough. And our weekly newspaper, we're in 2 places of that, so we're trying to get everybody's attention that this thing's coming.
Great, can't wait.
Hey, Jim Waterman, I have a question.
Hey, Jeff.
On my extra GP7 Forney, I
Yeah.
saw how you mounted the motors on Steve's.
Yeah.
So now I know how to mount them whenever you get them done. I know you got a ton going on. But will I be able to just wire those up to say a DC commander, you know, like an ERR, and I can get the antenna to the top, but go TMCC on it? How much do the motors draw?
They draw like an amp and a half, the pair. I mean, maybe 2 amps under load. It's pretty light.
Okay, so it's under spec. I'd love to do that because I converted a number 9 to TMCC, and then I've got the Dorfin steamer that I put TMCC. So it's just nice to have a 40 with TMCC on it, just because.
That's cool. I mean, this is an F unit drive. I'm playing with a different motor here. It looks the same. It bolts in the same. Everything's the same. But it runs a little different. So I'm running out of. I bought 50 motors and I'm running out. I couldn't get the same exact one, so I'm playing with being able to get motors. It's interesting because these motors run a little faster than the other in the F units, which run plenty fast, and they draw a little more power. So these draw a little over 2 amps, the pair, just running around the track without anything behind them. But they, like I say, they run at a higher speed. So it's, I want to build you a pair. I got to make sure I got the assets, both the castings and the motors. I've got the gears, so I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it might
Jim,
be.
do you just drive your motors with diodes?
What's that?
Do you just drive your motors with diodes?
Well, in this case, and it might look a little ugly, but it works. There's a bridge rectifier. It's attached to a reversing switch. And for these guys, that's all I'm doing. I just got a toggle switch and a bridge rectifier. That's it. And it, for most guys, you're not doing switching and things like that. So, and it saves quite a bit of money. So that's what I'm doing. It's like a 12 amp or 20 amp bridge rectifier. So that's what I'm doing with this particular engine. I do use Dally reversing units in some of the bigger engines, the GG1, the Hudsons and Challengers and those kind of engines.
I
So,
got one other question to pick your brain on. Maybe somebody else in the group knows. I've got a CMC 10-wheeler that we've been trying. It melted or shredded the gear on the axle. So Dave Nissen has finally come up with a hard enough nylon that he's been able to print an axle gear. We test ran it on the loop. It did on the meat loop at Arcadia. It did about 6 laps and stopped, and the whole bottom of the motor was hot. Is that a bad motor or is that a bad bridge rectifier?
maybe it's a poor mesh with the gear or something. It's I don't know. I
Might be binding and overheating the motor.
yeah. I like metal. David Kars owns CMT, which is the CMC successor, and we have actually worked together a little bit to try to come up with a sturdy design for the CMT Camelback 460 Camelback. I designed a drive for him that would use metal gears. We're actually going to run timing belts between the axles and loose fit the axles, so there's no binding. It's going to be a heck of a drive when he gets to it. I know he bought some parts, but I don't think he's at the point where he's ready to announce it. He has to get some sheet metal made, which I designed up. He had like on the back, the catwalk on one side, he had 1 million parts. On the other side, he had 1 part. So I drew that thing up for him. And once you make the sheet metal flat, you can bend it either way. So that's something that I know is on his dance card eventually. I think with getting into all these Glen freight cars, it's keeping him more than busy, and his machine shop even more busier than that. So, but that those plastic gears are the Achilles heels of that engine, really. And I'm sure that there's a gear that you could replace it with. It's a steel worm and a brass or bronze worm wheel that would give you a lifetime of service with it.
Well, it shredded the bronze wheel that was on the axle. That was the weird part. It was running fine, and all of a sudden you hear it spinning and it shredded the teeth off.
Yeah, if it's not meshed right, it'll go. I just had a case of that where the mesh wasn't tight enough, and and it destroyed the bronze gear. But if it's too tight, then your motor is going to draw a lot more current. One of the things that I do, I always have on my layout, I've always got an ammeter hooked up whenever I'm testing anything, and it's a great telltale because you can know about what the thing is supposed to draw, and if it's drawing more than that, there's a problem. There's something binding, or it's tight, or whatever, the mesh is too tight. Then you go back and you kind of work through those things and get it down to the current level that you expect it to be. So I do that. Everything that I test run, I do that with, and it's more than frequently that things will be out of order. Just little tiny things that make a difference.
Cool, appreciate it.
I have some information about the classic model locomotives, and my brother Norm helped put an existing worm gear on a different motor from China that I got from China, the right diameter shaft and length and all of that. And also I have pretty good luck using some of the real high pressure lubricant that is extra slippery and stays on the gears. So I'll put all that information on the SGMA IO site, so you can see what's going on. Yeah, I have about 5 or 6 of CMC locomotives, and got about 4 of them running. So. But yeah,
Hey,
it's hard to
Ed,
get the parts.
did somebody ask a question?
Well, yeah, the gentleman was just talking. Jeff was just talking about this problem with CMC locomotives.
Talk to David Cars, CMT LLC.
Yeah, well, he and I have been comparing notes, so as well.
Yeah, because he's got the inventory. He'll know exactly what they use in different variations of those locomotives. He's well versed in it. He wrote the book, and he probably has some parts. He's very gracious with that stuff.
Talking lubricants, have you looked at any of the cornhead grease products? Cornhead grease is, what's the word, texotropic. When it gets hot, it doesn't run away.
Really?
It comes back. So it's not like regular lubricant that goes to the side and stays there. It recovers.
Cornhead?
You're right, Pat.
That the Chinese company.
Spell it, Clem.
Cornhead grease made by John Deere. It's used in a differential in an antique car. If you use regular grease, it gets hot and it pulls away from the universal joint in the differential. And then when it gets cold, it stays away. So it's kind of the universal is kind of spinning in a cave of hardened grease. This stuff will come back to wherever you wanted it. So it's the term is I'm sorry, man, texotropic. I don't know that I can spell it. Tropic is there. It is. There it is right there.
The John Deere product, is that right?
Yeah, it's a John Deere, just looking it up.
How about that? Never used that. I mean, I was using the thick and tacky stuff for a little while, but then other guys told me that they were having trouble with it. So I backed off on it.
Well, you were thinking heat's because your grease you used moved away, right? Spun out of what? Didn't return.
Yeah, I've been using, and probably it's a mistake. I'm using the lithium grease, and that stuff tends to spin off pretty quick. So yeah, whatever Well, I'm interested. I can learn something on that. If there's something-
Gentlemen,
Yeah,
I've had good luck with something called lubriplate,
oh, lubricate.
and
That's,
it's industrial grease.
Hmm.
And I have broken up these big tubes, which are about $60 a piece,
Wow.
and broken them into little couple ounce bottles.
Hmm.
So, Jeff, I'll contact you on SGMAIO and contact, and I can send you a couple of the tubes. Let you know how much it is.
Okay,
It's priced like the other little tubes.
You know, the lubricate used to sell smaller tubes for model railroads. It
Yeah.
has graphite in it, right? The black,
No, this is white.
white. Okay, maybe it's a different compound, but I'm going way back. I mean, 67.
Multi-purpose, high temperature, extreme pressure, water repellent grease, ideal for general lubrication of industrial, automotive,
Hmm.
marine, farm, and construction equipment.
Wow.
So,
And standard gauge trains. Huh?
it works really well. I use it on my own gauge and my,
Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, Florida.
so,
Was there a
Hey,
question?
Ed, what kind was that again? When you held it up, I couldn't read it.
here we go.
Is it the one, 630 AA?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there's been so many advances in
made in the USA, by the way.
There you go.
I've had this for 10 years, so who knows?
Is it a synthetic?
It must have some synthetic stuff in it. It just sticks and won't go anywhere. And very high pressure. It's ideal for the worms.
Give it a try.
Anyway, I'll put the information on the website. And I actually sold some at York a couple times, but I haven't done it. But I'll bring it to York this time to have some tubes available for sale. The little tubes,
Great. I'll check
reasonable
it.
price.
Hey, Mark Boyd, I see you out there.
I'm here.
I've been meaning to contact you, and sometime in the past, we talked about doing another article. Are you
That'd be
still-
great.
You still interested?
Absolutely. I was just talking to Jim Burke just within the hour, and I said, Jim, I gotta let you go because I'm missing the SGMA meeting, and he wasn't able to get connected himself.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things, but I suddenly remembered I was supposed to be, so here I am. Yeah.
Great to see you again. I know you were doing your world travels at Spring York, right?
Yes, I was able to go to Paris.
Yeah.
And I took the Paris subway up to the Paris flea market. And I found a little shop in the Paris flea market that specialized in Meccano and Hornby trains. That was kind of fun. And I saw they had one Lionel box that was in the display case. And of all things, it was an O gauge 4457, which is the caboose for the electronic set. Now, how that got to Paris, I have no idea, but I found it very interesting.
That's pretty
Good to
amazing.
see you, Mark.
Very cool.
It was the only thing that was Lionel in the whole thing. They had all kinds of toys. I ran across a vintage toy shop in Rouen, France, which is where Joan of Arc lost her life.
Huh.
And it was a vintage toy shop that had a lot of Jep boats and all kinds of very collectible pieces. I was fascinated. But anyway, yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'll get in touch with you, see what kind of how we should fashion the article. I mean, there's enough to talk about, what happened at Spring York. It was happening.
I will be there in October.
Great, fantastic. I don't know whether you wanted to do an article on winter tour.
I do. That looked like it was very interesting. There's an article in the current July issue by a fellow who has a TCA number from 2018. And I said, "Are you aware of the SGMA group?" And yeah, I guess he was, but anyway, I was trying to promote that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Mark, this is Clem. You know anything about Meccano?
A little bit.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can. Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
Oh, very cool.
The
Pretty much the wheels are erector set.
The Australian Hornby Collector Club made me an official member of their organization, and they have specials every quarter on Meccano stuff. There's one of a World War II battleship that is absolutely spectacular. It has nothing to do with toy trains, so I haven't braved putting it in the quarterly, but I was duly impressed.
I bought this at a car show, so that counts, right? Sandy was not with me, so I was able to slip it in.
You're looking younger, by the way, Clem.
I don't feel younger. Send me some new juice. I'm going to get new glasses, so I'm going to be able to see one of
Oh,
things.
that's what it is. Okay.
Well, that's shingles in one eye and MD in the other eye. So
Tell me it's not so. Yeah.
and I'm going to have two, what's it called, pyramids. Each glass is going to have a different pyramid in it. So
Prism,
if you need pyramid specs, I'll send you some.
prisms, right?
That's what I said, Prism.
Yeah, I need prisms because my eyes go in two different directions already. Stinks.
Technology.
By the way, Clem, since we're talking, I just came across on an old email that I must have missed in my unread messages of four parts of an article that you wrote on your trains. So they are now saved in my archives for future use.
I wrote it started out that Jim Waterman asked for some things about homemade trains. And it turns out he wanted 2 or 3 paragraphs. Well, I prepared 38 pages. So shit, I can't throw away all that stuff. So it's 4-part articles. It was ran in the trolley, WBNA's trolley. It's being run now in a V8 Ford thing. And I've sent you all 4 of the copies. You're willing to do whatever you want to do with them.
The pictures were included, I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Clem, a lot of Clemisms, so the English is not real good.
Yeah, I noticed.
Well, but the Clemens,
That's
yeah,
part of it.
do whatever you want. It's yours. My pleasure.
Thank you, Clem. Thank you. You're a gem.
Hey, Dan Formansky, you still on? You fall asleep yet?
I had to unmute. I'm here.
I was wondering whether you wanted to mention a little bit about what you've been up to. I think that's pretty interesting. We could make it for another meeting, or maybe give an
Well, I just been putting quite a few GP9s together, and they're all in various stages. I don't have any to
Tell
show.
these guys what it is. I mean, it's an interesting story.
Here, let me get back on here. They're actually, the Haynes was going to make GPs, low nose and high nose, and I actually got everything left in the warehouse that I know of. They're all plastic shells and frames and everything, but there's no metal frames, and the drives are very slim. But I'm actually putting together 7 of them for orders I have.
Those of you that went to York, he had a model there. I think you had at least one of them, right?
Yeah, that was just a shell on actually sitting on the G-gauge trucks that I got to convert. But actually, the first one I converted that I got from the same guy where I got all the shells is coming back to me on Saturday for some updates and some work from Doug. So I'll get to see that again.
At Kutztown.
Yeah.
there's a little train meet that's outside in a pavilion at Kutztown at the farmer's market there. And so a couple's going to run up there. I'm thinking Carl Needlinger is going to be there as a friend, another builder. And so we'll huddle and say hi and kind of catch up. He missed York, so look forward to seeing him and of course Dan. But
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too hot.
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how your Jeeps come out. It's they're good looking shells, I'll tell you. But Dan is a burgeoning builder, standard gauge builder, so he'll have a chapter in the volume 2 book.
That's good news, Dan. Hope you'll have some at York in October for us.
Well, I'm planning on having all 7 done by then. Whether the customers will bring them or not, I'm not sure. We'll see.
If you're like me,
Well, that's part of the terms.
Yeah, I'd love to see them all there running, but
I know I'm gonna have some of the F units running there for their new owners by their request, by the way. So that D&H set will be one of them that'll be running. I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to see what that thing looks like. It's a shame, Steve Eastman dropped off. I had the locomotives, but wasn't able to make the cars in time. I would have loved to have seen that set run on the layout, but we gave the F7s a workout. I kind of actually pulled them off at one point in time because they were pulling everything I could throw at them, but I just had this vision of tearing up a brand new engine that I figured it was time to. It's like, yep, it's done its work. Let's put it away.
They ran great. They ran really good.
Jim, I took those videos a lot clearer than what they came out, and I've got a couple different videos of it running. So if you send me somewhere where you can take a big file, I can send you the full res videos.
Yeah, that'll be helpful because Steve sent them to me as a text, and it just strips them down to nothing. It's just not even viewable. Maybe on a 2-inch screen, but yeah, not on a big screen.
That'd be great, Jeff. Maybe I'll try to send you a link. When I do the recordings for these and post them on YouTube, I like to overlay like good video instead of what gets shown through Zoom. So I'd love to have the full resolution one.
Yeah, let me know. We had a lot of fun too. I don't think we ran. We did do. You guys were mentioning cars and trains, and we did our Huntington Beach Concours car show again this year, where they give us a 20 by 30 tent where we set up all the trains and run the standard gauge and a little bit of O gauge. And once again, it was the highlight of the show. So
fantastic. Yeah, what you guys do is great. It helps that it never rains, almost never rains in Southern California, right? Except for this year. That you get so many nice days, you can be under a pavilion, a tent and run this stuff. It's just great. I don't think we talked about having a layout at Strasbourg, and there was talk about doing it outside under a tent. Everybody's like, no, we'd never survive there. So it was supposed to be in the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum, but didn't quite work out. But they said, well, wanted to be on site during like a Thomas weekend, so we get a lot of the kids and families and all. But the only we weren't able to get that weekend. So they said, well, why don't you set up outside? No, it's not going to work. In California, no big deal, right?
the weather's a lot more cooperative here. There are times where you wouldn't want to set up outside, but
Right.
for most of the time, we have a lot better days.
But you guys do a lot of that stuff out there. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's just a lot of shows and networking and getting with. Glenn came up with the senior facility where we had to do the gate guard your guys talking about. It was one of our most popular shows. They just ran some O gauge and some tin plate. People were walking by. Oh, I had this train as a kid, and I had these trains, and bringing us trains, and oh, I've never run it. We're like, well, throw it on the track. Bunch of old Marks, old Lionel. We should have brought the standard gauge. We're going to try to do that next year.
There you go.
Say, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, it's Mark Boyd.
Hey, Mark.
We just this last weekend we hosted the National Garden Railway Convention here in Santa Clara. Saturday we had about 200 people that came to tour our garden railroad. We have a G gauge and an O gauge outdoor layout that surrounds an old Southern Pacific 100-year-old station.
Wow.
And we run out outdoors all the time here. We do the O gauge with Atlas track because it's a nickel silver track,
Uh-huh.
and the G gauge is of course brass, but it's really successful. So I thought I'd offer that. If I could show you one thing, I told you about that. I was mentioning Meccano, and I said the battleship. I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is the USS Missouri in built with Meccano parts. Let's see if I can get it in position.
Wow, it's huge.
How
Yeah,
big is that thing? Is it the size of a car?
Yeah, well, I'd say it's probably about 3 to 4 feet long.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Heavy.
Wow.
Mark,
So anyway,
you got any videos of your G gauge running?
yeah, I do. In fact, we did some of this, what we did this weekend. I was running an O gauge 1947 model of the Freedom Train. And then I was running a Napa Valley wine train and a Southern Pacific Bud car on our layout. I could send Jim a link to it, and you know, he can pass it on to you guys. You can see what we do outdoors.
Fantastic.
Great.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Mark. That's awesome.
Gentlemen, I have to get off here. We're traveling later this week and I have a few things I got to button up. Great seeing everybody. And I'm sure we'll have one or two more of these before we hit York.
Yeah, I should just mention behind me, I was not a shelf guy, and Wayne produced those rail racks that he was distributing at York, and so I finally have got stuff on shelves for and they're beautiful. I mean, I'm glad to have gotten them. He did a fantastic job. So I'm just one plug for Wayne and all the running around that he did to get these shelves built and delivered. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Jim, on that. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll send it, see if there's any interest, if people need more or whatever, and we'll see if we need to do another run then for October, if anybody has interest in them. But I'll put something out there in another couple of weeks once I get back from vacation, and if there's enough interest, we'll make another run.
Yeah, I don't know. You've talked to the extrusion house whether they're busy or not.
Yeah. Well, once we find out, then I'll give them a call. I mean, they were so fast the last time. I don't want to order them too early, but don't want to be after York either.
Exactly. I mean, that was unexpected. I mean, they did that job in a month, right?
He did it too quick.
He actually made the die and made 2,000 pounds of this stuff in like 5 weeks or something like that. Flat.
Yeah. And overran it by 400 pounds.
Overran it by
My trailer didn't like that.
No.
And then I had no place to put it because I'm down here in Charleston, South Carolina. The place is up in Pennsylvania. So, you know, the trailer was parked in Kirk's backyard for probably about 6 weeks or so. But it made it. It made it.
Teamwork.
Yeah, exactly. Like we said in the beginning, everybody helps everybody out in this group, and it's wonderful. So, all right, everyone, have a great rest of the summer, and we'll talk to you hopefully in the early fall time.
Enjoy your vacation.
Thanks. Take care.
Trouble.
Bye.